Good afternoon, boys and girls. Sunday, I'm going to read MIK's Mammoth by Gerrard. Gerrard is fast becoming my all-time favourite rhyming couplet storyteller, next to Julia Donaldson and Graham Base, or alongside Julia Donaldson and Graham Base. So here is the front of MIK's Mammoth, and here is the rear of MIK's Mammoth, literally the rear of MIK's Mammoth. Walking off into some sunflowers. So I do hope you enjoy this one. It was published in 1990, and the publisher is Farrar, Straus and Giroux. Let's make sure we've got the angles right. Yes, we do. See the whole book? Yes, we can. Mik the caveman, small and thin, had long blonde hair and beardless chin. When danger loomed, he saved his skin by hiding in the cave. The thought of fighting made him droop, so other members of the group considered him a nincompoop, for they were fierce and brave. But food was scarce, and one bleak day the tribe packed up and went away to hunt elsewhere, not knowing they were leaving Mik behind. He'd gone exploring far below, down where the silver birch trees grow, and there among the deep soft snow he made the strangest find. You see, he's found a mammoth. The baby beast was in a mess and looked at him in deep distress. Despite his fear, Mik nonetheless set to and dug it out. When finally the beast was free, it grew as frisky as could be, galumped around and squealed with glee, and followed Mik about. They travelled homeward side by side to find the cave unoccupied. Poor Mik sat in the snow and cried, beside himself with fear. But when the snow began to fall, he dried his tears and built a wall around the cave, which all in all seemed quite a good idea. Then, safe within their barricade, they felt completely unafraid. Mik struck some sparks, a fire was made, which cheered them up no end. The branches blazed so warm and bright, it helped them to forget their plight. And there Mik spent a cosy night with Rum, his new-found friend. Next day they foraged in the wood, found berries there which tasted good, and roots which made, when cleaned of mud, a culinary treat. The tribe would have been most surprised to see that Mik, whom they despised, had used his wits and recognised that plants were good to eat. And you see the little hare watching them. There's lots to notice in the pictures. So winter passed and spring came round. Then near the cave one day Mik found some seeds he'd scattered on the ground had taken root and grown. Perfecting first of all the spade, he went to work, and with Rum's aid he dug and delved, and soon he'd made a garden of his own. See all the little creatures watching, looking on. With food in plenty, they survived until the fairer days arrived. Thus man and beast stood firm and thrived in friendly harmony. When summer warmed the countryside, Rum grew too big to sleep inside. He sometimes took Mick for a ride, so broad and strong was he. One day, a fierce, unfriendly bear attacked the unsuspecting pair. He thought their cave could be his lair. He quickly changed his mind. Rum roared and stamped his massive feet, at which the bear beat swift retreat, deciding he'd no wish to meet a creature of this kind. Mick found a lake and took a swim. Then, acting on a sudden whim, he caught some fish, which seemed to him an appetizing meal. When offered fish, Rum shook his head, but ate some lily pads instead, and soon they felt quite overfed. They'd gobbled a good deal. So we know why the mammoth said no thank you to the fish, right? Because they're herbivores. Don't want to eat any meat. You look closely at the picture where Mick is fishing. He's not got any clothes on because he's a caveman swimming in the sea or the ocean or the lake. Can you see him? Beside the lake, they found some clay of reddish brown and bluey grey, which Mick took home without delay to try a bright idea. His clever trick was first of all to roll the clay into a ball. With this he drew things on the wall, like bison, bears, and deer. He crushed some berries to produce some red and blue and purple juice, and then he put them all to use by painting his design. His little nimble fingers flew, and though it took him weeks to do, eventually when he was through, the cave looked really fine. You see who's peeking in to the cave because he can't fit. Some cave paintings. And then one day, to Mick's delight, his former friends came into sight and ran in panic-stricken flight toward his cosy den. He wondered why they made such haste, then saw that they were being chased across the wild and rocky waste by hordes of hairy men. The sight filled Mick with great alarm, but keen to save his friends from harm, he kept his cool, remaining calm, and leapt on Rum's broad back. Toward the savage tribe they sped, but happily no blood was shed. The hairy horde just turned and fled when faced by this attack. The tribe poured praise on Mick and Rum, their hero and his hairy chum, and all agreed Mick should become their leader from that day. And this is where the story ends. Mick reunited with his friends, who found a way to make amends for losing him that way. The moral is that little chaps may overcome life's handicaps, and with some effort they perhaps can triumph in the end. For Mick won through on brains and wit, though fortunate, I must admit, to have one priceless benefit, a mammoth for a friend. You see why they're fast becoming my favourite. They're so good. He's so clever and his illustrations are so lovely. So here I want just to show you again the cave painting. Because I just read another book that was for older students about cave painting, the most famous cave paintings in Lascaux in France. So that might be interesting to look up and see if these cave paintings have any similar images to the ones that are famous from France. All right, that's it. Sunday afternoon. Time to say goodbye to Mix Mammoth. Liberty Bear is sitting in for some stories this week. Liberty Bear went to Washington last summer for the ALA conference of librarians, National Librarians Conference, and got to go to all the sites in Washington, D.C. and met lots of cool authors and illustrators who held him up in photographs. So he's had an exciting time. Not going anywhere this summer, though. Going to stay put and wait till it's safe to go out again. All right. Happy Sunday. Cheese.